Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Catching Up With You. On this episode, we're catching up with Robb Moreira. And this guy, he's like Bryan Cranston for voiceovers. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go look up Bryan Cranston commercials. Trust me, you will love it. Anyway, he's voiced things for McDonald, for tequila, for Pepsi, and so many more major brands. I mean, guy is bilingual. He's out here doing medical books, narration, cartoons, and because he's a big gamer, he's the voice of Mika on Genshin Impact. So, for all my gamers out there, I know you know what I'm talking about. So school your friends if they don't, all right? But before we get all into that, make sure you go to Pound Town on that like and subscribe button. And if you want to be the first to know about new episodes of Catching Up With You, or whatever else I tend to share, make sure you give that ring notification bell a little pickle tickle. And let's go ahead and catch up with Robb. So, first of all, why are you just so cool?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. That is a good question. Why am I so
cool?
Cool?
Why are you so cool? I have had the pleasure of getting to meet you through Abacus Entertainment, and big ups to them. They really gave me my start in voiceover.
Yeah.
They did my commercial demo, and that got me in the door with CESD and many other places. So, but I've just been like, you're Googleable, just so you know.
Thank you. I always say that's very important. You need to be easy to find.
Yes, you are. I can Google you.
Yes.
But you're killing it. Like, you've got video games, you've got crazy, amazing commercials, bilingual, which is like huge right now.
Absolutely.
And you're a gamer, you are you're a family man, you're like all over the place, and you do Muay Thai.
Yeah, I do a lot. I do. It's funny because when I think about everything that I do, when you're doing it, you're not thinking about it. You're just kind of moving and going and like just going with the flow of the day. Yeah. But like when I sit and actually think about the things that I'm doing throughout the course of a day, I'm like, how am I not like dead? Like I should have zero energy.
Like, genuinely, I don't see,
but I'm good. I've gotten to a flow. Granted, it's been a while, like it does take a while to kind of find the groove. And then obviously with our line of work, it is always kind of changing as well.
Yeah.
So what you may have done a lot of at one point may not necessarily be what you're doing a lot of now. So, and that's shifting with the kids, their extracurriculars and what they're doing, that's always kind of shifting. But it's really just kind of figuring out what what the non-negotiables are in terms of like your daily, to-dos. There's some things that I just have to do.
Right.
So like when I set a couple of those in place, then it's a matter of working everything else around that. So it's kind of like, these are the things that I absolutely must do because that's just for me to function throughout the day. So working out, that's one of them. If I can, I try to squeeze 2 workouts in a day. If not, at least 1, and I do that for 2 hours, and that's at night, if possible. So if that's what it ends up being, then that's what it ends up being. But working out, that's a non-negotiable. I have to exercise. I definitely do a lot, and it's it's just kind of squeezing it in where I can. Also, my days are fairly long. I wake up not super early. I wake up at about 7:30, the earliest, and that's usually during the week because I kind of help my girls get ready for school.
Yeah.
So on the weekends it's kind of the same because even if I want to sleep late, I can't. They're waking up anyway.
Yeah.
So 7:30, 8 o'clock is about wake up time, and I stay up till about 1-ish, maybe 2-ish. So it's a big swath of time.
That's a huge. Everybody, they say like everybody gets the same 24 hours. It's all about how you can use them. It's like, I kind of agree with that because to me, it's like Beyonce's 24 hours are a little different than my 24 hours.
Yeah. I'm sure.
So sure, we all get 24 hours.
But, I'm sure she's doing way different things than we do.
Like, she's got some help with those 24 hours. Like she's
got a
also
whole
got
team.
other people's 24 hours
Yeah,
along with
she got
her
a whole
24
team.
hours.
Yeah, exactly. There's a
know?
group of people whose 24 hours revolve around her 24
Yeah.
hours.
So it's like,
yeah.
I get that. But man, like, does that ever catch up with you? Just like,
It does. So what I do is that once a week, I actually make sure that and typically it's Sunday nights. Maybe usually not Saturday nights. It depends on like what we're doing on the weekends, but usually Sunday nights, I take that as the day to go to sleep at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I go to sleep like at a regular time to kind of reset myself for the week.
Okay.
And then I like push hard up until that next Sunday, and then I do like a recharge night. So it's kind of like, okay, I'm not gonna game, I'm not gonna be on social media after this time. 10 o'clock hits, office shuts down, and I'm going to bed.
Nice.
Just to kind of reset myself. So I do like that. I've noticed, I think the furthest I've pushed has been like a 10, 11 days straight of doing like a
Just
5 to 6 hour sleep cycle. And that's really the most, because then I start to kind of feel foggy throughout the day.
Yeah.
So once I start feeling that, I was kind of like, okay, so about a week, I say, is a good safe number. And because it's Sunday, it's easy to remember. I just keep it to that one day. All right, it's Sunday time. Once the girls go to sleep, I know I got about an hour or so to wrap up whatever I need to wrap up before my week kind of starts again. And then 10 o'clock is, all right, lights out. Time to go to bed and do it all over again.
That's wild. So this has been kind of like a 3-year thing. So this is like during the entirety of the panorama.
Yeah.
Really, it's like
kind
of reset yourself and
that's exactly what it was.
Machine.
Yeah, and it worked. Not planned, not at all planned, because when I started, it was a bit, we were already, well into the panorama.
Yeah.
Because it was August of 20
Okay.
is when I kind of like decided. It was very weird too how it kind of happened. I was at my desk, and I don't know what triggered it. Like, I don't think there was a catalyst. It was literally just a thought in my head that was just like, I should probably lose some weight. It was like that. It was that simple, that blasé of a thing. It wasn't a health scare. I didn't have a heart attack or anything. I was just, it's like a switch in my head turned down that was like, yeah, I'm sick of being fat. Maybe I should like get like really fit now. Whatever.
Like maybe just jump into some Muay Thai and kickboxing and
And then I did it, and like now I'm like an addict.
You've signed up to actually fight now.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So right now I still have about 20 pounds to go before I can start searching for a fight. But my coaches, they already know that I am interested, so they're kind of gearing me up for that. So I'm going to start doing more private lessons with my coaches, because they said in a class capacity, there's not anything else that they can teach me, because I pretty much got the techniques down. The rest is really just kind of drill and application. And that's stuff that I kind of have to do, one-on-one. So, so it's really just dropping another 20 pounds, which I was kind of planning on doing anyway. I want to drop like another 30 or 40 ultimately. So that was already kind of part of the goal. I'm 110 down so far.
Wow.
So it was a pretty drastic shift.
Yeah.
Needless to say.
One day, I'm gonna do this. And then it's like, oh shit. Hey, I'm doing it. Here we are.
Yeah. It's odd to think about, and there's so many kind of hurdles that you kind of go through while going through such a drastic shift, because losing 10 pounds is losing 10 pounds, but when you lose the amount of weight that I did, there is a very strong psychological aspect that kind of goes with it. There's a very, very deep rooted body dysmorphia that you don't really take into consideration when you're dropping that kind of weight. Now, I lost it through a long period of time. It wasn't like anything drastic, like when people do the surgeries, which those are extremely drastic weight losses. This one was kind of like I knew what I was doing, because I was basically working at it every day, so because I did it naturally. So but that dysmorphia still hits. It does still happen, and you kind of look at your clothes, and there's this weird disconnect where you don't feel smaller and you see your clothes and you're kind of like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I still weigh the same amount that I did when I first started, and my clothes must be the same size, and somebody must have switched the tags. That must be what it is. Like, you really can't wrap your head around the idea that you are a smaller person.
Yeah.
And it's very
weird.
yeah, it was really interesting. I was very self-aware of it, so it wasn't, like, damaging to myself in any way, like, it didn't put me in a bad place. But I knew I had the thoughts, and I was very aware that that is what was causing it. Like, I
Yeah.
know I'm experiencing really bad body dysmorphia right now, so I know what I'm thinking is totally bad shit, like, like, this
Yeah.
I'm totally
This is
thinking
not
wrong.
it. I'm okay.
Yeah,
This
like, I know I'm fine, I'm healthy, there is nothing wrong, I am smaller, but it's very interesting that that there is that primal brain that you can't control that's telling you these things that hasn't, like it's like
oh,
it hasn't caught up to the reality of what
yeah.
you're living at the
It's
moment.
like
Very
your
interesting.
subconscious is very it's very hard to change.
Yeah.
And so like you're doing all this, front stuff and you're
Mhm.
working and doing everything, but your
Yeah.
subconscious is still sitting there like, nope, not yet.
Mhm.
I mean, but
Yeah.
really, yeah, because like mine went more the other way. Like I gained weight, and it was kind of like that weird thing of like I have to get rid of these clothes because they don't fit anymore because they're too small.
Mm.
And but if you're trying to put these clothes on, it's like you're like, what have I done to myself, and this and that and the other thing. And so your
Yeah.
body is like your mind is just going. But at the same time, it's like I finally got the ass that I wanted. So do I lose the weight? I don't,
Ah, interesting.
so it's like, oh man, I don't know. I don't know. We have to find a happy medium here, body. We got to figure this out because
Yeah.
I don't want to lose this. You gave
Yeah,
it to
I
me,
hear
and
you.
now I don't want to lose it.
I hear you. No,
And
I
I'm like,
absolutely I'm with you. I'm with
like a
you.
lot of people, like for me, weight has always been a weird thing because I was always an
Same.
active child. I mean, I
Mm.
played sports from 5 years old up to high school graduation, and then I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years, and
Thank
so
you for
it
your service,
never
of course.
dawned on me to think about things like weight or inactivity or a sedentary lifestyle because I never really had one. And
Mm.
so when that started to happen through a series of events of life, it's like, that's weird. Like, I don't, that doesn't feel like me though. I
Yeah.
don't know how not to be moving, but here I am not
Yeah.
doing the things. And
Yeah.
it's trippy either way. Like
Very.
your body is just like, wait a minute, you're doing something different than you've always done. I don't
Mhm.
know if I like that so much. So we're just gonna scramble some things in there for you and just,
Yeah,
you know, good
it's
luck.
really raw. Yeah, it's really wild just
Yeah.
like that how they're both connected, but they're not talking to each other. Like they're
Yeah.
like your body and your brain are in two completely different like solar systems.
Yeah.
It's so interesting
It's like,
to kind of to kind of wrap your head around. But but it happens. It is there. It is something to think about. Thankfully, I am an incredible. I have a lot of check-ins with myself.
mhm.
I don't necessarily meditate or anything per se, but I kind of I like to check in and just if something if if that part of my brain, that part of my mind is telling me something that is even remotely negative, I like to check in with myself and being like, okay, why are we thinking that?
Yeah.
Let's unpack this. It's kind of like I become my own therapist. I'm like, let's
Yeah.
unpack this.
Like let's sit with each other for a
Yeah,
second.
let's see with each other. What's going on here? And I'll have conversations with myself to kind of break that down and let the logical brain talk to the illogical brain and
Yeah.
kind of talk it off the ledge.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
kind of like as creatives, I feel like we all kind of have that thing, as creatives,
Yes.
we have that part of our brain that's always ready to walk off the ledge because like, oh, I'm not good enough for this. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve success. I'm an
Oh my
imposter.
god.
Why am I doing this? Like,
Yes. Yes.
like it's there.
Yeah.
That voice is just there.
Yeah.
And I think it's really a matter of having that logical brain kind of take over, let it man the wheel because when it has the wheel, that's when you're most successful. You know,
Mhm.
that's when you're doing the thing, is you creating this vehicle, this
Yeah.
podcast. That was your logical brain that created it. It's creating a path to success. It makes
Right.
sense. So you're like, this is a thing. This is what makes sense. This is how I'm going to attack it. This is how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go ahead and run and do it. But then there's that voice in the back that's saying, it's not going to work. Nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to watch it. Nobody's going to do it. Just 8 billion different thoughts that are
I mean,
totally
10 minutes
irrational.
ago, where it was like, is the tech gonna work? Did I give him the right link? Is this gonna make like all of those things? And you're like, you know what? Okay, shush.
Yeah, you got to let the logical brain take the
Chill.
wheel. It's like, no, calm down. You did everything right. Just do the thing.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like
Just do the
everything is
thing
set
and let
up.
it
It's
happen.
ready to
Yeah,
go. Let it. Yeah. No, I feel
exactly.
that
And we
hard.
always have that. We all creatives have that, you know, and I only speak for for at least us as actors, you know, having been one for so long. I know that we all have that. Every actor that I speak with, we may talk about it differently. We may call
Mhm.
it something different, but it's all really ultimately the same issue
Oh yeah.
that we have. You know, we have that one bad voice in our head that's always telling us, don't do that audition. You're not right for it. You're not
Mhm.
this. You're not going to get it. You're not going to be successful. Nobody takes you seriously.
Yeah.
Regardless of how many accolades and success you may have already accrued on your own, you'll still have that voice telling you that you're not good enough.
It's always
It's
there.
never going to end. It's
Yeah.
never going to go away. We're never good enough. You know,
Yeah.
that's just the plight of the creator. That's the plight of the artist.
For sure.
Because, you know, we hold ourselves to such a high bar, such a high standard that nobody does. Nobody holds ourselves to.
Like it's
But we do.
ridiculous because when you sit and think about it and you say certain things out loud to non-creatives and they're like, that doesn't make any sense.
They don't
But you're
get it.
just like, I know it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense,
they don't get it.
but it does.
Yeah.
So just like,
Yeah.
let me talk this out because,
Mhm.
you know, but yeah, no, it's always, to me, it's kind of one of those things like, how close is the voice? Is it
Right.
right on my neck?
Right.
Is it a block away?
Exactly.
Where is the voice? And like
Yeah.
sometimes I have to check in with myself, like, okay, how close is this the voice?
Mhm.
Is it just sitting there barreling down on me, got all this stuff going on, or is it like, you know, a couple miles away and it just kind of floated an idea to my way that I
Mhm.
can just smack out real quick and like keep
Exactly.
going. So like I found that kind of happy medium for myself. But yeah, like
Yeah.
just it's a constant kind of battle with that
Always.
voice that is
Yeah, it's
there.
always there. It's always apparent. And what's always tricky too is that I hear a lot of actors talk about is the difficulty of having a significant other that's not in a creative field
Yeah.
or is not a creative person just in general. That's always a really difficult kind of hurdle in and of itself
Mhm.
because that significant other will be supportive of what you do, which is all you can really ask for.
Yeah.
Ultimately is that they support your decision in, you know, pursuing this endeavor that is it's a one in a million kind of endeavor to find success, truth be told.
Yeah.
Um, but actors need to have outlets that are other creatives as well, preferably actors, because you know it's the same field. You know, you kind of
Yeah.
you're talking the same lingo because those significant others are they're not thespians themselves. They are the audience. They're never going to understand what an actor does. The reason they like what actors do is because they don't understand what we do.
For sure.
You know, they like the end product.
Yeah.
But actors don't necessarily we don't do what we do for the end product. We do what we do because we enjoy the process
Yeah.
of reaching the end product.
For
Once the
sure.
end product is done, we're kind of like, okay, like we're already
Like
over it.
you're done. Yeah. You're like moving on to the
Yeah,
next
we like
2, 3
the job.
projects. Yeah.
Yeah, we like the work.
Yeah.
You know,
Because it's like that's the juice. That's the
that's
good stuff.
that's
Like,
why we do what we do,
yeah.
creating a character and building it. Like that's what we get the high off of.
Yeah.
But to the audience, it's like, man, it must be so exciting that this is out now. And it's kind of like, I mean, like, it's not
Yeah.
that I'm not excited, but
Yeah.
like this project is out now and I'm already 15 projects ahead.
Yeah.
Like I
You're
already forgot about this. Like
like
this is in the back of my head. You know what
it
I
came
mean?
back because they said I needed to do some marketing for it, but like
Exactly.
I've already like, yeah.
Yeah. So it's almost
Like,
like the audience is kind of living in the past
yeah.
to some degree, but
Yeah.
it's not even really that. They're living in our past and
Yeah.
they're living in their present.
For sure.
While to us, they're in the past and we're, from their perspective, we're in the future.
Yeah.
We're thinking ahead. We're light years ahead already of where we were. So it's
Sure.
they're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
We're like a whole huge cycle behind each other, away from each other. They don't get it.
Yeah.
So, it's almost not fair because I feel like that can also sometimes sour relationships between each other because,
God.
you fall into that trap of like, oh, you don't understand what it is that I go through. And it's like, but you need to appreciate that they don't understand that.
Yeah.
That's something that's to be appreciated. You don't want them to get into the weeds of that kind of thing because if they thought like that, you'll talk yourselves into a weird tornado of like turmoil. You don't want that.
For sure.
But if you have a friend that is a fellow actor, that is actually more beneficial because they probably get it. They more often than not, they know what you're going through and they'll be able to talk you off the ledge a lot quicker than, than an audience member.
Yeah. It's like, how does that for you? Like do you ever take your, like the video game auditions and kind of show them to your wife and daughters? Like, check this out. Check this thing I did.
I really don't show them my work too much. Like I might show them a commercial here and there. Like, I just recently, one of my characters, he got an official announcement. He had already been in the game, but he got an official announcement in Genshin Impact, which if you're in the know is a very prominent, video game at the moment.
Yeah. Was it Mika?
Mika, yeah, Mika. So it's a big deal in that very small corner of the gaming world. You know what I mean? But like to my wife, it's kind of like, oh, he sounds cute. That's about as far as it goes. She's not a gamer. She doesn't play games. To her, it's just like, oh, you did a cute voice. I think the funniest was that she was like, oh, it sounds like you. But I think it's because I heard you when you were recording it. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Okay,
and she was like, yeah, I remember that voice. Because it's not a voice I do very frequently. That's probably like the first time I ever did such a high pitched voice. And then to my girls, it's one of those things. They're too close to it. So like the wow factor isn't necessarily there.
Yeah.
To them, it's kind of like, oh, you're in a video game. Cool. Like it's so every day. It's not like whoa, you're in a video game. Like to them, it's like, yeah, my dad's in commercials and video games. It's just matter of fact. It's just what I do. Hey, I did an audiobook that's like, like a New York Times bestseller. Oh, that's cool. Like again, it's just every day. Just what I do. Nothing cool about it, which is interesting because then when people who aren't close to it and they're like, whoa, you're like famous, to them they're like, he's just dad, or like, I don't get it. Like they can't wrap their head around.
Like I just watched him record, like,
and they're like, he's in his booth all the time. I don't know what he's doing. Like, okay, I guess. I think the funniest was for my 17-year-old. She she's 17, teenage girls. She is right now. The world, by listen, I'm just a squirrel in her world, ultimately. All right, just trying to get a nut. That's all I am. I'm nobody.
Like, okay.
But a friend of hers who, we kind of got very close with their family, with their parents. He kind of started talking to me about what I do. He knew I was a voice actor. He's like, oh, so like what stuff did you did? So I started naming some animes that I did. And I'm like, yeah, I'm currently in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'm about to come out in Genshin. And his eyes were like, oh this. God. His jaw was on the floor. Like he was just eating it up. And then he's talking about other animes. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know that actor. We talk to each other. And he's like, you know them? Like these are just people and I'm like, well, yeah, it's the industry, we all kind of talk to each other, we run in the same circles. So I'm we're not having drinks, but we know who we are. We're colleagues. And to him, he's just like, that's amazing that you just talk to these people regularly. And I'm like, well, yeah, we're just kind of regular people. So one day, I have like prints that I got for like doing cons. I did a Comic-Con recently. So I had a couple of prints and I was like, oh, let me hook him up. I gave him like signed prints and he just lost his mind. Mind you, my daughter, she's kind of like, I don't get it. Like, like what's the big deal? They're just some pictures that you sign. And I'm like, it's the perception,
Yeah.
you're too close to it. You don't see how cool it is because to me, you're just dad,
Yeah.
I'm the one that's telling you to clean your room, really. You're not
Yeah.
gonna,
I was like,
you don't see me
whatever.
as with any kind of celebrity kind of lens,
Yeah.
So yeah, and
That's
my
kind
my
of
my wife is hilarious too, because she's kind of like, why do people know you? And I'm like,
it's like,
and I don't even explain. I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just around. I'm just around.
why did that person come up to you? I don't understand.
That actually happened recently at a restaurant.
Oh, really?
Funny enough, we went to this restaurant. It was like this high-end restaurant in the city.
Mhm.
We went, I took her out for her birthday, and the maitre d' comes over and they're like, "Hey, this might be a weird question, but are you a voice actor?" And my wife looked at me like, "What?
Like, hold up.
What? Why do people know you?"
Like,
And then it turns out that she was an actress that I had given advice to once upon a time
oh,
through a
nice.
Facebook group that I just kind of
Yeah.
helped out. They asked a question, I pointed them to the right direction and stuff. Yeah, just being a cordial voice actor, you know what I mean? But after that happened, like, they treated us very well at this
Oh, yeah.
restaurant.
It's like,
We got a very nice treatment, and my wife was just like, it took her like half an hour to wrap her head around the fact that I just got randomly recognized at this restaurant.
like, what is going on
And
right
sh
now?
and she's like, this, like, only you would this happen to, only you." And I'm like, People know who I tell you, people know who I am. I'm not making it up. Like,
Yeah.
I'm kinda somebody. Like,
Like,
I'm not
I
famous."
do stuff. Like,
Yeah,
come
it's like,
on.
I wouldn't say I'm famous, but in New York, I'm pretty well known.
Like, give me a little credit here. Like,
But, well, I think
I,
I've done a pretty okay job of,
yeah.
spreading my name, I like to think.
It's like, yeah, okay, whatever you say. It's
And
like,
she's
what
like, "Really? I just don't." I'm like, "What do you think I'm doing in my office all day? Just playing video games?" Like, "No, I kinda network a little bit."
like,
Like,
I guess.
yeah, so that was very interesting.
That's
So,
cool though.
yeah, it's like that's
Very
kind of
cool.
how they understand the level of what I do and where I'm at is through the third party lens. Like,
Yeah.
that's really when they kind of are like, "Oh, you kinda
That
are like somebody."
that
I'm
makes
like
sense. Got
like,
it.
"Yeah,
Okay.
thanks."
Whatever. It's like,
Cheers. I'm just here yelling into a microphone every
yeah,
day. Nothing
just,
special.
making weird noises and screaming and
What I do.
grunting and, it's all good.
Yeah,
It's fine.
what
It's
I do.
fine. Don't worry
Whatever.
about it.
Nothing special.
You know?
Nothing to see here.
Like, it's kinda nice though because it keeps you grounded in a way that,
100%.
I mean, it's lovely to have people recognize your voice, recognize you, and have all these wonderful things to say, but,
It
they're
keeps you very humble.
yeah. It's
It's
like,
easy to stay very humble with that
yeah,
because they don't hold me up on a pedestal or
yeah,
anything. Not to say that people do, but, like, they don't see me as this
elevated
elevated,
kinda, yeah.
persona. They just know me as dad that yells at us occasionally for not picking up our toys, and husband who forgets to take out the trash every now and again. Like that's who I am to them.
Yeah.
So it's nice because for 90% of my life I'm just regular old Joe dad, nothing special, but I jump on Twitter and it's kind of like,
Yeah.
so
No, for
yeah,
sure. Like, yeah, your following is huge on Twitter. You have a very big
recently,
yeah. I mean, it's like
very
I've
recently.
been following for I think 4 years
Yeah, it's been a
or
bit.
so. Yeah,
Yeah, it's been a couple
something like
years.
that.
Hmm.
And yeah, like, but I've just had, it's been a pleasure for me to watch, like, you announce these characters coming out and how people are just gravitating towards that
Yeah.
and how, it's always kind of the same questions of like, how do you get started? What equipment do you use?
Yeah.
Are you signed with anybody? How do you get, all those questions? But
Yep.
it's to me as a creative, it's better than the alternative of people being like, so like, there we go.
Uh-huh.
Like, all right,
Whoa,
you know,
aren't you special?
right? Like, but I am.
Yeah. No, it's pretty amazing. It's really incredible to kind of see how people react to your work. It wasn't ever something that I thought of, especially being such a theater heavy
Mhm.
actor. you know, what people thought about what I did
Mm-hmm.
wasn't something that I kind of really, I don't want to say that I didn't care. It was more just kind of like, that's not why I was doing it. You know what I
Right.
mean? I wasn't doing it for accolades. Like, I acted because like I just had this thing
Mm-hmm.
in me that I had to release. And the way that I do it is by acting, you know,
Yeah.
like there's some creative creature inside me that has to be flexed and let out,
Yeah.
you know? And my wife actually mentioned it to me once, several years ago. I mean, we're talking over a decade at this point. It was pre-voice acting, where I was doing off-Broadway shows every now and again. And like, you know, sometimes you'll have a dry space where you're not really doing anything. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife very flat out told me one day, she was like, "You need to find a show to be in." And I was like, "What?" What? She was like, "Because you're miserable and you're cranky and it's annoying. You need to
Oh,
find a show. You need to do
that's a
something."
partner right there. That is a
She knew. She
legitimate
read me,
partner.
and I didn't realize that. I didn't know that I was different.
Yeah.
But she saw it. She was just like, "Yeah, when you're not being creative, you're a bit of a jerk." And it's because I was building like this thing wasn't
Just
able to let him,
growing. Yeah.
you know, wasn't able to do his thing.
Like a
Um,
caged animal that just is like in this tiny cage and it can only go like this far if you're not giving it something to express itself with.
exactly.
Yeah.
And when I don't, and that's why I act, is because that thing needs to express itself and be creative and be different and change and evolve and be something else and then go back to normal. Like it's like a rubber band. It's this creative rubber band that needs to constantly be stretched over and over again. And so that's why I do it.
Mm.
But now and then when I started doing voiceover, I did a lot of commercial work, which was actually nice because there is no fandom, you know? Nobody knows what, like, "Oh, you're the voice of McDonald's." Oh, like nobody cares. And it's a commercial. People are
Yeah.
just here and they're like, "Oh, yeah, that was you." That's about as far as it goes, is the recognition, and that's kind of about it.
Yeah.
So then now to be, you know, almost a decade into voice acting and fall into, you know, IPs that have very large fandoms and very
Yeah.
large followings is, it's a very pleasant surprise. It's incredibly intimidating. I will say that. It is very intimidating. I mean,
Is it
especially
because of like the
seeing.
fan base that's already there or like
Yeah, I mean, well, with Genshin, you know, it's a fan base that's been created. Genshin's been out for, you know, almost 3 years now,
yeah.
and it's developed a massive fan base, and they hunger for new content at all times. And that's one thing that Hoyoverse has done so well, is that when they, you know, they have this constant stream of new content that comes out. So it's great. It's always feeding the masses. It's always new. It's always fresh. And it keeps the game new for everyone. So they
Yeah.
love that. They love new playable characters, you know, new designs. It adds to the story, adds to the lore. Like it's so much, such an like incredible model
Mm.
that they've created for this universe. So you know, I'm sure it was intimidating for those who created the first set of characters, because I'm sure they didn't think it was going to, you know, pop off the way that it did. So that
Yeah.
must have been wild. But now for me and any new actor coming into the Genshin Impact world, especially those that don't already have fandoms, because a lot of these actors already have fandoms from animes that they've done
Mm.
or previous video games. I'm relatively new in this space, you
Okay.
know. So while I've been a voice actor for a while, in terms of like fandom based voice acting, this is
This
very,
was it.
very fresh territory for me.
Yeah.
So so yeah, it was very intimidating, because I mean, seeing my follower count go from like 3,800 followers to now almost 10,000 in the span of 2 weeks. Whoa.
Yeah.
It took me like 8 years to get the 3,000 I already had.
You're like, yeah,
To get
3,000 and
Yeah,
then
to get almost 3 times that in a matter of weeks was like, whoa, like this is a whole other creature in and of itself. So, it's really interesting, but you know, everybody's been so incredibly open to the character, and they just so supportive of the work and so complimentary, and
yeah.
it's incredibly wonderful to see how much they like it. And what's nice too is that because it's been so long, you know, into the process, and again, accolades were never something that I was about. To get them, I'm still very humble about it. I'm
Yeah.
just happy people are enjoying my work. You know, that's
Yeah.
all I really care about. It's like, listen, if you enjoy it, if it's adding to what you already got, like, man, I couldn't ask for more. Like, that's great. I'm adding to your experience, and the fact that I had a piece in that, that's so, so cool.
Yeah.
Especially in a character that I had fun creating. It was a new voice for me. I mean, truth be told, when I did the audition, I was like, I'm not booking this. There's just no way. The kid's 15. He's like 14, 15. I've never voiced like that young before.
Yeah.
But you know, I could have listened to that voice in the back of my head that said, "Don't even bother. You're not going to book it." Instead, I was just like, I don't think I'm going to get it, but I'm going to try my hand at it and just see what happens. I'm sure there's plenty of people with young voices that'll probably knock this out of the park. And when I got the booking, I just remember looking at the email and and very audibly just went, "Shut up." Like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way. There's no way. I even had to go back to the audition because, and I'm listening to it. I was like, there's no way that I booked this. That's impossible.
Like, you guys are crazy. Did you hear what I heard? Because I heard
it's like, did you hear what I did? Because I don't believe it. But, but it worked. And, and, you know, when they put it to the character and you see the character, it's like, yeah, that is his voice. And I was just like, wow, I couldn't, that was very, very wild. As an almost 40-year-old playing a 15-year-old is very interesting.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is a career highlight.
All right, you know.
Yeah, career highlight.
This is how I get to relive my youth. I'm okay with that.
I'm about it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I'm totally here for it.
All right, let's do it.
So but it's great.
I have to tell you, and I want you to take this as a compliment, that you remind me so much of Joey Fatone from NSYNC.
I absolutely take that as a compliment. I love Joey Fatone.
He's my favorite of
He was my favorite.
Yeah, like same. That was my guy. Like,
he was such a great personality. He was such a sweet dude.
Fun, right?
Yeah, he's a fun dude. I love that guy. Oh, I love his personality.
Absolutely. So yes, you're like, you know, if he was, you know,
if he was a voice actor,
and, you know.
That's an absolute compliment. That is an absolute compliment. Absolute compliment.
Like, I was sitting there one day and I'm like, who does he remind me of? It's like hitting me and I don't know.
That's
and
so
I
funny.
Just happened to listen to, like, I was in my like pop mood for whatever reason, and it came on and I was like, oh my God, yes. That's who is it. Joey Fatone. That's who it's the awesome. Whole time.
I love it. No, that is 100% absolutely a compliment.
Thank you.
Yeah,
like,
no,
for me, it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's so
yeah,
cool.
No, he's great. He's great, and you know, I've always kind of been, you know, the same. I don't let any kind of success dictate how I am as a person. You know, I treat everybody equally as I expect to be treated as well. You know, that's all I can ask for. You know, I don't want to be held to any pedestal or whatever the case may be. It's like, just treat me cool and I'll treat you cool, man.
Like, yeah, don't do that, because I'm gonna fall over that motherfucker.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna trip. I'm sorry, I'm gonna trip. I don't mean to, but here we go. Don't do it. Don't do that.
Listen, I live by a strict motto of be cool and we cool. You know,
I love it.
That's my motto. Be cool and we cool. That's all.
Very cool. Well, like I said, you are a very cool dude.
Thank
I love like just all the work that you're doing. I'm excited to continue to watch it flourish, because in my mind, I just, you know, I think onwards and upwards from here with that. Absolutely. And you know, so that's, you know, and as a voice actor as well, just being able to learn from you has been incredibly helpful for my career. And like, you know, it's still kind of in that finding itself realm, but at the same time, it's very much like the notes that you gave us at the class or what you're posting on Twitter. For me, it's like, okay, just keep these things in mind as I'm going along and like doing voiceover work here in the Midwest, because I'm in Minnesota right now. It is an entirely different market, but it's great because that kind of, you know, how everybody's looking for the real voice these days, and
100%.
Not having an accent helps. Not having the Minnesota accent,
yeah,
super helpful.
Absolutely.
And doing stuff like that. So like, yeah, like everything you do is like, I mean, you're very much a practice what you preach type of person. So
absolutely
appreciated that about you, and that's why I had to have you on the show, because
yeah.
you're just awesome. So,
Thank you. No, I was extremely flattered that you asked. I love doing these. I love just, talking shop and, just kind of talking about, what it is that I do. I don't have any strict guidelines that I keep. I'm very loosey goose with what I do. It's just like, when you're really enjoying what it is that you're doing, you really have to be aware of enjoying the ride. You know what I mean? Because
yeah,
sometimes, we try to, we may find some of that success, and then we want to, grab it and like, strangle it and force it into something else because we don't want to let go of that little bit of success, and we try to do too many things at the same time, and it
yeah,
gets too crazy. It's kind of like, get good at the one thing, and then when it's automated, when it's doing its own thing, then you move to the next thing,
yeah,
and then you work at that, and then when that becomes automated, then you move to the next thing. I would the metaphor I always use is, there's like those circus acts where they're spinning plates, you know what I
yeah,
mean? That's what it is, that's what voiceover is. It's spinning a
yeah,
plate, and once you get and at some point, you notice that when they're doing this trick, they spin the plate and then it stop. They stop holding it and the plate keeps spinning.
hmm,
When you get to that point, that's when you move to the next plate to put it on the next stick, and then that's the one that you work on.
for
Then
sure.
eventually you let go of that one because it's spinning on its own. You go back to this one, get it back to where it needs to be, and then you move on to a third plate. And that's basically how you kind of have to create your business, is that you have to go piece by piece by piece until the point where you're spinning 12 plates. Everybody's amazed at what you do. But to you, you're just kind of like, I mean, I'm not doing much because you're really not,
Yeah,
piece by piece, you were doing the heavy work, but now you're really just
yeah,
kind of maintaining everything. And as long as you're giving everything its equal attention to make sure that it's automated in its own place, you'll be doing amazing things. But to you, it'll be very mundane, but to everybody, it's extraordinary. And that's
like,
really
hey,
the
oh,
idea.
look at all this. It's like,
See,
just
I mean, this is how our conversation started, right? You're like, how do you do all these things? How do you fit all this stuff
yeah,
into your day? I've got really good at spinning all the plates that I have, and I
nice.
may add another one at some point, but right now I'm very comfortable spinning the ones that I
Like, you're
currently
happy with
have.
these ones. So, like, this is
Yeah,
good.
I'm
I
good with
like
these.
these. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
Cool.
I don't try to spread myself too thin. I'm gonna enjoy these for now, and then at some point I might add another.
For sure. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
cool. So, outside of your creative tendencies, I know you
Mhm.
also do the Muay Thai and kickboxing. Are there any
Yes.
other things that you would consider hobbies that you get into?
Oh, yeah, I'm a huge model builder.
I
I build
can
a
see that.
yeah, I build a lot of I have, like, 2 display cases worth of models that I build.
It's wild.
And I also build, like, Lego kits. I'm a really big Lego fan. And truth be told, now that I've found the success that I have, I'm living out my 8 to 10-year-old fantasies at
Yeah.
this point. That's really what it
Like,
is.
you're getting all the toys that you always wanted and, like
100%. 'Cause
yeah.
now at this point, you walk into a toy store and it's kind of like, "Man, that looks cool. Man, I don't have any kid to get it for. Man, I don't need a kid to get this for. I want it. I'm gonna
I'm
get it.
gonna get it for myself. Psh,
I'm gonna
what?
get it for me." And that's what ends up happening is that we'll go to a toy store and I'll be like, "I'm gonna get this Lego kit." And then my kids are like, "Oh, are we gonna build that?" I'm like, "No, no, no. You're gonna build this one. This
Like,
one's for me."
step back. You can have your own
I know,
Lego
this is daddy's kit.
yeah, it's
We'll get you a little kid kit.
like, "I'm building the Death Star, you
Yeah.
can have this kit car."
If
Like
yours breaks, I don't care. If mine's breaks, I'm breaking somebody's head. No, no, no.
like, "No, no, 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 no. We have different
Uh,
toys for different reasons. Like,
yeah,
don't touch mine."
let's not get crazy here. But yeah, I mean, so that's a big one. I'm a very big collector. I'm a big Batman fan. I have a
Okay,
huge Batman statue actually right over there.
nice.
Um, but yeah, I'm a big model builder. It's something that is I kind of like on the days that I don't game, I'm
Mhm,
doing that.
mm,
And, the reason I enjoy doing that so much is because it's something that I can do with my hands,
yeah,
that I can
it's
also kind of
tactile.
like yeah, and it's and I'm not on a screen,
Yeah,
I actually like that. I like being able to do that. 'Cause like, right now, I don't really watch much, if any, TV, really. Any TV use that I have is strictly for gaming. So it's like I like to be as interactive with whatever it is that I'm doing. Like if I'm playing the game, then I'm stretching my brain and my logic a little bit. If I'm not, I'm listening to music, so I'm getting some kind of, auditory, stimulation, and then I work with my hands, and then I do that. And I like to listen to my records. I like collecting records, so I'll listen to that while I'm building. So it kind of like, kind of gets me into a nice Zen mood. It's like I'm not really working my brain as much as I am just kind of working my hands and let them kind of do their thing. So it gives me it's very relaxing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can get that because with the work that you do, especially, it's a lot of screen time, and that's just one type of activity. Even though it might be gaming, it might be voiceover, it's still just everything in this box. So it's nice to get out of that and like touch things.
Touch something and and it's nice because then when it's done, like you created something. Like how cool is that?
Like it's there. See?
And you make it look good, you make it your own, and then
don't touch it. It goes
and then it goes in the display case. Look, but don't touch. Exactly. Look, don't touch. That's
like
it.
We're good. Like
there's a rule in my house. If a kid is 4 years old or younger, they can't go into my office. That's
Does
the
that
rule of the
age
house.
like sneak up just
depending on the kid.
Every year.
Depending on the kid.
Like you have to be this tall.
Some kids get 4, other kids I'm like, maybe when they're like 9.
Like
the kid's a little destructive.
It's like you have the hands of a bull in a china shop.
Or there's just some that are just really handsy, and I'm like, everything that's in my office is to not touch.
Don't touch it. No touch.
It looks cool, but it's like, think of it like a museum. You can see it all. Don't touch anything.
Right. Like just pretend everything is made of poisonous glass.
Yes. Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Or you will die.
And it's funny because like people say like, oh, well, what about your girls? Like, do they go into your office? And I'm like, that's the thing though. They know. They get it. They play in my office most of the day, especially my 3-year-old. She spends most of the day with me. So she'll be in my office pretty much all day. She has her Legos that she plays with. She has her toys that she brings in. She's a kid. She has tons of toys. She doesn't need to play with my stuff. So she'll come in and she's kind of like, oh, cool. Like, again, now it's just every day. Papa has his stuff, and that's just what it is. Like, that stuff doesn't phase her.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's also great. Like, she comes in with her bag of stuff and it's just like, all right, I'm ready to play now.
She parks herself on the floor and I'm kind of like, all right, cool. I get her little sleeping bag thing so she could sit on, and she just goes to town. So I'm like sending emails and stuff. I'm like, you okay, baby? She's like, yeah, I'm okay, Papa. I'm like, all right, cool. You good? Like,
all right, nice.
She takes care of herself. Yeah, she's actually really good. I call her my secretary because when my wife comes into the office, if I'm in the booth, my little one kicks her out. She's like, no, Papa, recording, get out.
It's like, you can't be in here, get out.
I'm like, good job. I'm like,
you see the light on?
I'm like, you're getting a raise. You're getting a raise, kid. I'm buying you a Kinder Egg. Good job. You're getting a bonus.
Like, oh yeah. Like,
my wife was always like, this is ridiculous. Why does she kick me out? And I'm like, because she's under strict orders.
I mean,
Dad's working.
She's got a job to do.
Hello. She can't get toys if Dad don't work.
Like everybody's got their place in here. She knows what's up.
There you go. She knows
let
the
her
deal.
do what she knows. Like,
though sometimes she gets into slave driver mode, and then she ends up telling me like, Papa, get in the booth. I'm like, I got nothing to record. What do you mean? And she was like, no, go. And she'll like close the booth on me. I'm like,
better find something to record right now.
I guess I better do something. Like, apparently I wasn't doing enough.
It's like, I don't know about that.
No joke.
I got my eye on a nice little Barbie dream house, and
she knows.
You better get to work, sir.
She's like, you better get in there because I'm gonna want something soon. So, better
like,
hop to it.
She knows. She knows.
He's like, I dare you to say you can't afford it. I dare you to say you can't afford it. Get in there.
It's like, she already knows. She runs everything.
Oh no, she's the boss. She knows. She's tough. She's tough, man. My 7-year-old, she's cool, but my 3-year-old, she's bossy.
Like, we're not doing none of that up in here.
You
gotta work.
Full boss baby. That one. For real.
I love it.
Yeah,
like, you're looking because you're worried. Like, is she over? Is she?
Yeah, because she'll like crop up, like, because I got a glass door, so she could see right into my booth, and she'll go in there. She's like,
It's like, are you working?
What are you
working?
doing?
It's like, is this
You
work?
working, right?
It's like, yes, I swear I am. I
Yes,
promise.
ma'am.
I am.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm
Yes,
sorry.
little ma'am.
You wanna put a ring on my finger? Put it on and make him wanna marry me. Yeah. Put it on and make him wanna marry me. Yeah. Put it on and make him wanna marry me. Yeah. Put it on and make him put it.
With superhero movies and stuff like that, and like Marvel basically dominating everything. It's like, I feel like there's now the novelty has finally kind of started to subside a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And people are kind of branching out. Like, what do you think that next big wave of entertainment is going to be, and why is it limited series?
Interesting. I like that question. That's a loaded question. No, you're right though. I mean, truth be told, long form narratives, like, shows like The Shield or like Breaking Bad, or, those are lightning in a bottle series. Sons of Anarchy, those are all lightning in a bottle type of series. So it's hard to have one that lasts that long. Like, there is no other show that can compare to a Law and Order.
No.
That thing is what, 27 seasons in? That's unheard of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's hard to create something like that. I think limited series are absolutely the way to go, because I think what happens is that when the idea was that a show had to be 26 episodes long, there's a lot of filler, and then you end up losing an audience. And right now, in the age of TikToks and our attention spans gradually getting shorter and shorter and shorter, because we need instant gratification at our fingertips at all times.
Yeah.
Which is just evident from TikTok and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels. They're short, quick snippets that tell a very quick, simple message, and that's really all we can stomach at this point. We have now been trained to say, if we need a message, it has to be given in tiny bite-sized pieces. We can't handle full meals anymore. That's just not how we're built to operate anymore. It has to be fast and furious at all times. So with limited series, it's very easy to tell a very succinct tale or story in 6 to 9 episodes, and it'll constantly keep you engaged at all times, because there is now no more filler. Which is great. I'd like to see some go past 2 or 3 seasons, but sometimes that's all you have to say. And I think that's okay, because you need more time than a film, but you need less time than a 26 episode episodic. The limited series is the way to go. How do you tell these quick stories? Because I feel like one show that, considering, has lasted as long as it had, but could have benefited from shorter limited runs, would have been the American Horror Story series.
Oh my God.
Because I feel like every season was about 6 episodes too long. Had they been shorter, I think they would have hit a lot harder. I think they would have hit way better. They would have landed better with the audiences. So I think had they been, especially like that first season. I feel like that first season, it's just like ramping and ramping and ramping and ramping. And then in those last like 6 episodes, you're like, all right, I mean, we could wrap it up now.
Like,
what are we doing here?
This whole like kind of like, and they're like, okay, like,
it feels like it stutter steps, because it has to make 6 more episodes, like 4 or 5 more episodes, like, and you feel that.
It's like one episode stretched out 6 more episodes.
Like you feel that. It's like we wrote 20 episodes, but we need 6 more episodes worth of content. So where do we pad that in? And I feel like you can feel that as an audience member. So I think it absolutely is the way to go. In terms of film, though, I think we're going to see a bit of a renaissance soon.
I hope so. Like, not, and that's me saying that as somebody who really enjoyed the first couple of phases of Marvel. Like, I I still watch them. I might
Oh
not.
yeah, 1 through 3 was like everything up until Endgame was just like
yeah, it
chef's
was
kiss.
like perfect, and I really feel like they had a well thought out plan for those phases, and they knew exactly what they were going to do with that. And like, I'm not even upset with these newer movies because I get why the characters are going the way they're going. Fine, but like, I'm just like, I hate the thing that theaters often do is like when you get something good, it's, you know, you kick everything else kind of to the wayside for these films because you want to fill the seats and you want to do this. But it's like,
Yeah,
I still enjoy a character driven movie that's
yeah.
90 minutes long, that's interesting and entertaining, and I can leave the theater and talk about it and enjoy myself and be done. Like I still love those films. And I feel like there's this, like, those films are now being relegated to Netflix films, and they're premiering on Apple TV Plus or Hulu instead of actually going to the theater because theaters now overrun with, you know, CGI. And it's like I want some space to come back for those films because I missed them.
Yeah, I think it will eventually come back to that. I think it will happen. I think we'll see a renaissance of that at some point. I'm pretty confident in that. We just have to keep seeing adventurous movies, you know, continue to come out, you know, that are just really great to watch, experiences that you want to watch in person in the theater, you know, like Elvis, like such a big movie. That did so incredibly well. It's just beautifully shot, you know, and Butler did so I mean, he killed it as Elvis. And so I think as long as that, you know, movies like that keep coming out, I think at some point we'll see that turn
Finally
around.
start to see that kind of
Yeah, I think it'll happen.
balance.
You know, yeah, I think it'll happen. Is it like right now, like there's like just a we're in a very big nerd heavy culture, which is as a nerd, which is fantastic, you know, as a geek, like that, like you really, we never imagined this happening. But it is it's, you know, it's overstayed its welcome when now it's starting to become politicized a little bit. Because now things that don't work well or things that they don't like are instantly labeled as woke equals bad, you know, and that now has turned into the narrative. Is that it's too different, it's not what I like, that makes it woke. Woke equals bad, so anything that's woke is bad.
And I'm like,
and it's like we're not talking about the same thing. What does this show have to do with being woke? Those are two completely different ideas and things that have nothing to do with each other.
And also take 5 minutes to go look at a comic book. Like,
you know, and then on the part of the companies making these, they also have to understand that if they're going to create something new, was the source material in and of itself successful? Like things like She-Hulk. She-Hulk was an okay comic. Are you really gonna pour millions of dollars into something that was just okay? You know, Iron Man, that's a guaranteed hit. Batman, that's a hit.
And
Captain America, those are hits. You know, those are hits.
But the thing is, I think, like,
so
because
it's tricky.
Before Iron Man 1 came out, like, yes, it was an interesting comic, but it wasn't like people at that time were still looking at X-Men. They were still looking at, you know, that was
Thanks,
the
Fox.
kick, you know.
Thanks, Fox. You guys got us the good stuff first, man.
But
Heck
you know,
yeah.
but like,
X-Men,
so
baby.
when Iron Man came out as a film, a lot of like casual
total gamble
watchers were not like, who the fuck is Iron Man?
Yeah, they're like, what's an Iron Man?
Yeah, like,
what's that?
What's this? I don't understand what this is.
But
you know, they got super lucky. I mean, even with like Thor and how they revamped that story, and like they really were able to pull these characters who were not popular at the time into this phenomenon, which was really helpful. But it's like, okay, but you did that, which is great. It's not going to work for everything. And because now that
not.
it's like we've seen it now.
Yeah, especially with characters that had so much content already. I mean, because the thing is, I mean, the characters that they decided to present first are characters that have had extremely long histories. They've survived Silver Ages, Golden Ages, like they've had extremely long histories that they can tap into. And some of the newer ones that they're tapping into now, it's kind of like it's cool. It's just their histories aren't as long. There's not so much to draw from. So you're kind of creating new experiences on a fairly untested IP that hasn't necessarily proven itself. Things like Iron Man and Captain America, they had their ups, they had their downs, they had stories that worked, they had stories that didn't work. So, like that one was like, it's harder with the direction that they're going right now. But at some point, the creativity kind of takes the back seat and the money is really what starts to dominate. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We're kind of in the cash grab. Let's just try to make as much money as we can before people are completely burnt out.
Because like for me, WandaVision was kind of cool.
I liked it.
It was fun. Wild. I
liked WandaVision. I like Loki. A lot of people didn't like a couple of them.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I liked it. I mean, I wouldn't say it was amazing.
No, but
I thought it was cool.
I like that they tried something very different with WandaVision.
Definitely. So different.
Those first 2 episodes, I was like, what
is happening? Like, what is going on
I'm gonna stick it out because I feel like maybe I should, but like, y'all help me get there. And then they did, and I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that was clever, very out of the box. I was like, that's kind of cool. That was actually really interesting.
Yeah, because like even if like
really creative storytelling.
Yeah, like I don't, even as someone like I love comics, but I'm not deep into the lore. You've taken an idea from television and then you've morphed it into this amazing
very clever
setup with this character, and it was just like, now that is the kind of creativity I can get on board for.
Yeah, that's super clever.
This is crazy. I love it. When we get to the later series and stuff, it's kind of like
the creativity isn't necessarily
it kind of takes a dip, and it's like you guys are putting stuff out for the sake of trying to maintain this relevancy, and I'm like, I would rather you take the time to allow the creativity to speak,
right,
and to be like, oh well, we have this other thing for you, and it's like, but then now I'm not gonna want it because it's
because like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I feel like I enjoyed it. I think it could have worked better if it captured that same feeling. Now, granted, I'm biased. That same feeling that the original Winter Soldier movie had. Like the original Winter Soldier for me is the best Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And for reason being is that it didn't feel like a superhero film. It felt like an espionage, terrorist, like spy thriller kind of movie. It felt so different. Like you watch that movie and then you watch any other Marvel movie really, and you're kind of like, it feels different. It hits different. It feels like almost like a James Bond movie with a guy who happens to be stronger than everybody else. But outside of his strength, if you take away his strength from the equation, he's basically a James Bond type of character. Because most of the time he fights really well. Nothing we haven't seen before. He uses his shield a lot, which is a weapon, which is something we have seen before. The only difference is that he happens to be very strong and he doesn't use it very frequently. And I think that's why that movie hit different. And I feel like if the show captured that same kind of vibe, I think it could have hit a little bit better. I still enjoyed it. It still had a terrorist aspect to it. It still had an underlying theme of the superheroes and the super serum and, the morality behind using it and stuff. So it had a good message. And we wanted, obviously, to see who ended up being Captain America, because we knew it was going to be Falcon anyway. But we wanted to see it happen. That was ultimately why we were watching it. We wanted to see him finally put that outfit on.
And see it, and
so we got what we wanted.
See how they kind of went about it, how they decided to inevitably put him in that, because it was, I was curious about that, because it was like, I really liked it, and I'm glad they didn't just immediately like just give him the shield and be like, "All right, you're the new one.
Yeah, he had a little.
Go do those things."
He had to kind of get over the
Yeah, he
whole
had a
Steve
lot of
Rogers
stuff.
situation.
Yeah, because I mean,
which
that's
makes sense.
somebody who's like effectively put on a pedestal, and so now you're living up to an image of someone,
a very high standard at that. Because Captain America, it's in his name. This is the person that embodies what it is to be an American.
Yeah,
and like you have to pick up. You want to pick up this mantle for the right reasons,
right? You
so
don't want to.
I'm glad that they kind of played.
And
with
then
that.
also like evil Captain America.
Oh, right, the U.S. agent. Yeah.
U.S. agent. He like he always plays these characters that are so like they mean well, but they're just like
doesn't
sad,
turn out
broken
well.
little children inside. Because he's in this movie called Goon. The actor is the last of the enforcers, and like he comes in to this like failing hockey team, and he's just brutal for no reason, but then you find out it's because he has daddy issues and all this other stuff. So when he was cast, I immediately was like, oh no, who's he really? Because I already
that's a bad guy.
He's a bad guy.
That's gonna be a bad guy.
Whenever I see Pedro Pascal on the screen, I'm like, who is he fucking over right now? Who are you about to get?
No.
Because I already know.
Oh,
like,
that's awful.
I love him, but I'm like, who is he double crossing? Tell me right now.
I feel like there's always actors that like for some reason like when we see them we're like
yeah, I'm just like
yeah, it's like I don't know, like there's something fishy about that guy.
I don't know.
Yeah, like for me it's Patrick Wilson. I don't know why. Mind you, he's done a lot of. He's probably done more good guys than bad guys, but like.
but it's the one good guy. Like he plays one like ghost hunting Christian man. You can't negate from all the times that.
But he was also Night Owl. He was also Night Owl in The Watchmen. So like he's had some. But I don't get a good feeling when I see him in a movie. I feel like this guy's gonna flip. I don't know why.
Because he does.
There's just something about his face. I'm like, there's something about his face that looks a little shifty. I don't know what it is.
He's a smarmy motherfucker.
Yeah, like there's something about this guy. I don't know. He makes me uneasy. He makes me uneasy.
It's there. It's like, what is it? The line that describes him, he's wearing body armor in a green zone. That should tell you everything you need to know about him. And I was like, that is his character every single time.
Yeah, it's just like there's I don't know, man. Yeah, there's just something about this guy that makes me feel a little uneasy.
Because that's what he does. That's what he does.
But he's such a nice guy, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know.
He does, but
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. Especially like when I was watching In the Tall Grass. I was watching In the Tall Grass. And the movie's going on, I'm like, he's going to be a bad guy. I don't know why, but he's going to flip. And then when he flipped, I was like, see? I mean, I knew it.
See?
I mean, I knew it. You see? Go. I can't have this feeling and then you prove me right. Because now I'm always just going to assume he's going to flip on people.
You're just a bad man. You're just a bad man. It's what it is,
It's confirmed.
I get it.
Stephen King confirmed it.
It's like, So what else... if you can talk about it, I should say. I know you have Mika and you're talking about that, but is there anything else that's coming up for you soon that's on the lookout for?
Not at the moment. I've done I have a audio book or two in the pipeline.
Nice.
This one I can talk about. It released, I believe it was last month that it released. But it's called Pit Fighter. It's called Victor of Tucson. Book one actually came out not too long ago. I did the audiobook for that, and it's actually a 5-book series.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to be recording books 2 and 3 this year. Not sure on release date, but those will be coming out at some point. So I'm working on those, and that's a really, really cool series. It was interesting when I was approached for it. When I got it, they sent it to me and they kind of gave me the breakdown on what the story entailed. So basically, it's this young dude in Tucson, Arizona, hence the title, and he ends up getting kidnapped by these aliens, basically, that did some kind of weird conjuration. So they end up kidnapping him and selling him to this alien, like he like owns like fighting slaves, basically. It's almost like Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
So he ends up buying him and to fight in these like pit fights, basically, where you fight other aliens. Now, okay, sounds interesting. What's most interesting, though, is that for some reason on this planet, while he's there, he's able to level up like in a video game. So when he trains, he has like a heads-up display that just like kind of appears. So when he trains, his skills get better in certain things.
Okay.
And when he fights and wins, he levels up and gets powers. He's living a video game, basically.
Nice.
But his life is always at risk.
Right.
But what's interesting is that when his strength goes up, like he physically enhances. So like his muscles get bigger. He gets taller the more powerful he becomes. It's trippy. It is a trippy story. So
now I don't want to go back home so much.
Yeah,
I kind of like this.
That's ultimately his adventure, though, is him basically trying to get back home. That's ultimately what it is. But in the midst of it, he's getting into these fights and he's training and he's unraveling these mysteries throughout the book and encountering these new aliens and these new creatures. And it's really wild.
Dysmorphia for you there.
Oh yeah, seriously.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, so that's actually a really, really cool book. So I'm working on that series at the moment. Besides that, I'm also on Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens at the moment as Professor Diggs, who is a dinosaur fanatic. So that's what his deck is based off of. And a Choubel Quill, who is a French, he's a French character.
Interesting.
Whose adopted family, he's an adopted child. His adopted family is a family of pigeons. And his brother, Pidge Trap, hangs out on his shoulder and they actually duel together. So the deck that he uses isn't actually his, it's his bird brother's deck that he plays for him. So he doesn't actually play the deck. His brother coos and tells him what to play. Very, very interesting character. So he's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah, so that's currently out right now. A couple more episodes are being released as they come, but I think we're like in the second season right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, so that's a really fun character.
I would love to voice the bird.
I know. It was funny because we didn't know, like, all the voice actors. We were trying to figure out. We're like, this is like, it's a person voicing the bird, but we're like, who is it? So I ended up asking the director. We're like, is that you? Like, who's the bird?
Who's cooing?
And he was like, no, it's the original Japanese voice actor. Since it's cooing, we don't need to redo it. I was like, okay. I was just wondering.
But like cooing American.
Somebody we knew. I know. Like, what did it sound like if you cooed American? Like, right? Like, stupid question.
So like a deeper voice.
In retrospect, it was like, oh, well, that's a dumb question. Why do you need to re-record that?
Like, okay. I guess whatever.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's on deck. Besides that, a couple commercials, kind of in the pipeline. Actually, yeah, pretty fair amount of commercials in the pipeline right now. So you'll hear me on radio, a lot of streaming. I do a lot of work for iHeartMedia. So
recognize the voice.
Yeah, and it's this voice. It's this one. I'm not doing anything special. I sound just like me.
Except for Mika, which will be like
exactly, except for Mika. Exactly, he's very high in my register. Yeah, I try not to do Mika. I don't do Mika outside of sessions because he's so up there. Like, it's not easy getting up there. Yeah.
Like you got to go way back in the throat for that one.
Yeah, like he sits pretty high up. Like now a couple sessions in, like I can get there very easily.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like I'm just keeping my regular voice. Thank you.
It's like we save that for when we're paid.
Hanging with my God-given voice. Thank you very much.
So catching up with you is definitely always about catching up with individuals, but we also care about people, which is why we catch up with them. And, you know, there are quite a few organizations that I support, and I always ask my guests, are there any organizations that you would like to take a moment to highlight and talk a little bit about that you support?
Yeah, absolutely. The one that I've always actually been a very avid supporter of has been the Wounded Warrior Project. I think it was one that there's not necessarily any rhyme or reason, nothing personal that really affected it. I myself, once upon a time, before I went to conservatory for college to pursue my acting endeavors, I did almost join the armed forces. I was looking into joining the army. Interestingly enough, it was the June of 2001, actually, so months before 9/11.
Wow.
Which was it was a little wild to kind of wrap my head around, once 9/11 happened. To think, watching it on TV and thinking like, I was thinking of going to the armed forces to, do something for my country, and and at the same time, take advantage of the opportunities that they presented for college and such. And then 9/11 happened, and it was just like, whoa, like it was very interesting to think about.
Yeah.
And then and then everything that happened after that, and how quickly we mobilized to protect ourselves. The Wounded Warrior Project was something that always stood out to me, because I feel like vets, to some capacity, are always kind of getting left in the back burner, and I feel like that's horrible, because you guys are the ones that you guys do the real work. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what job exists in the United States. You guys do the real work. You guys do the important work, and I think that's huge. I think you guys should get all the accolades. I think you guys should get all the support above anyone else, and I don't think that's something that's spoken about, talked about, or focused on enough. Especially because there's so many that need help. There's so many that end up with unfortunate psychological issues coming back, that become lifelong issues, unfortunately, that they're always contending with. And I think that's not fair, that you guys are, you're expected to serve a function, and then are quickly ignored when you've served said function. And I think that's pretty awful. So that was something that I, even just me and my own tiny little ability that I can to support, I feel like the Wounded Warrior Project was incredibly important, something that I absolutely happily promote, and have no fear in saying that I support our troops. I love my country. I always will. It's given me an abundance of opportunities, and I will never say anything to the contrary.
Awesome. I mean, I will say a lot to the contrary, but that's as a veteran, and more like, I just want dental, bro. Like,
you're in it. Yeah. I mean, you were in it,
like, just
you know what I'm saying?
Hook me up with some like regular dental, like,
as you should. And truth be told, listen, if you guys, if you all did the time, those are things that you guys should just get, no questions asked. I think there are some things that you guys should be getting no questions asked, and I think the bare minimum of healthcare should be one of those things.
Yeah, it's wild how much you have to fight to get just seen.
Yeah. I always hear about that. Like, it's just so
like,
wild.
Yeah. Like, I know here, Minnesota has one of the better VAs systems, but like, even now, like, I was waiting 2 months, I think, to be seen. And I mean, and that was for therapy stuff, let alone like everything physical. Like, it just depends. But like, it's wild. So I am here for that.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate,
Absolutely.
it's like,
And like,
your life
okay,
is right.
Like, I can't imagine being someone who's, having severe like suicidal tendencies or thoughts, or someone who's in chronic pain every day, and like just having to wait. It's
That's mind-boggling.
It throws
even
me.
A factor.
It throws me every single time. I'm just like, I don't understand. So yeah.
I mean, for people who put their lives on the line, to not be at the front of the line is so backwards.
Yeah.
You know? So that's why I support the Wounded Warrior Project.
Well, I support that support 110% for sure.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you again for being on my show.
Thank you for having me.
This was a wonderful conversation. I know we went off the rails a bit, but honestly, like, it was awesome. So
time flies when you're having fun.
Man. And yeah, looking forward to more catching up with you in the future.
Absolutely. Anytime. You just let me know. This is great.
And that's all she wrote. Thank you all for tuning in for another episode of Catching Up With You. All the links that we spoke about in the conversation are down in the description box below. But before you go, remember to make sure to go to Pound Town on that like and subscription button. And of course, if you want to be one of the first to know about new episodes of Catching Up With You or whatever else I decide to share, make sure that you ring that notification bell. All right. Peace. Catch up with you later.